everybody. Following on from my last video, which was teaching you some Australian vernacular, I am working on a part 2 of that because I thought of so many others that I didn't think of. So I'm working on part 2 because there's so many. But I had another idea. So obviously there are all these things that Australians say that are unique to Australia, but there's also a lot that we say that is the same as UK English and a little bit of American English as well. So obviously, English at its core is all kind of the same, and then there's the little quirks that make a particular dialect or variety or form different. So there are things that we say in Australia that are different to the UK. However, there are some things, and I have prepared another list. There are some things that people say here that I actually do not say. There are things where I say the English or British version of that, and that I attribute to two things, both basically my upbringing. Firstly, I was just exposed to a lot of TV, basically. I grew up watching, Doctor Who, Little Britain, a bunch of old shows, so much, 90% of what I watched as a kid, especially young child, was English. And then the other thing is that all of my family is from the UK, so I grew up, especially in those first few years where you are learning a lot of your language. I grew up around family that were all English. Now, I never thought that I would have such a good use for this cushion. I have this cushion. Look, I love this cushion. That's the important part, okay? Important thing. Never really thought that it would have such a good use, but it fits really well. So, alright. So, these fall into two categories. One is to do with pronunciation or accent, and that is where it's the same word, I just say it differently. And then the other category is actual words that are different. So, without further ado, pronunciation-wise, the first one is vitamin. Vitamin. You need to eat your vegetables, otherwise you'll end up deficient in a particular vitamin. Vitamin B12. In Australia, people say vitamin. Garage. Now, this one's interesting. I know a couple of people that say it garage as well. People in Adelaide tend to have there's debate about whether there are different accents in different parts of Australia. I think absolutely. I've travelled quite extensively and lived in most states of Australia, and there are, to me, definitely observable differences. However, officially there aren't. They're not nearly as significantly different as in the UK, for example, where you can drive for 30 minutes and there is a very noticeably different accent. So we don't have that. But yeah, garage. Most Australians say, I'm gonna get this wrong, say garage. I feel like I'm overdoing it a little bit though, because it's not quite the same as in America, how it's garage. It's not that emphasized, I guess, but it's not garage. Garage, which people say, the best way I can spell that is G-A-R-I-D-G-E is what people say that I'm saying. Garage. Well, it's not really. It's garage. Anyway. So then we have yogurt. Australians typically would say yogurt. My other cat has gotten a thing stuck on her head. I'm just going to take a picture of that because it's really funny. Oh my god, she's so cute. She had one of the, you know when you buy a ball of yarn and it comes with that like paper wrapper around the middle of it? She's playing with one of them and she got her head stuck around it. It was kind of cute. She's fine now. She's unstuck. Yeah, yogurt. Australians would say yogurt. Now, I will say froyo, as in frozen yogurt. Like, that makes sense for the rhyme. You know, yogurt. And then another food one, and the last pronunciation. Pasty, as in a Cornish pasty. In Australia, they say pasty. And these are both, just to be very clear, these are both distinct from a pasty. A pasty is something very different. But a pasty. Alright, so now on to the different terms. I'll keep it with the food theme for now. The first one is crisps. Crisps. This is like the chips, fries, crisps thing, alright? So I say crisps in terms of like salt and vinegar crisps. I don't know, sour cream and onion chips or something. So yeah, chips is like what they would say in Australia. Chips is also what we call like fries. It's a little bit more complicated than that because like there are times when, you know, you would say like hot chips, or there are times when you would say fries. But for the most part, they're both just chips, and you infer from context what sort of chips you're talking about. But I say crisps, and then chips is just hot chips, deep fried, potatoey goodness. Another food one, sweets. Now, I say a lot of different things here. To be honest, I don't eat many sweets, so I don't actually say the word very often. But Americans would say candy. In Australia, they say lollies. I would typically say sweets. It depends though. Most of the time, to be honest, I'm going to refer to the specific confectionery that I'm talking about. Like, I'll talk about, you know, a bag of snakes or something, or like chocolate, you know, or a specific type of chocolate or something. I'm not going to say, I rarely say this word, but when I do, it's sweets. So we've got Lou. Now in my last video I talked about dunny, and I think I said dunny is not something that is super widely used. Like it's in everyone's vocabulary, but it's not like frequently used, and very rarely would people actually say it as their main, as the main word that they use. But I say loo most of the time. I also say toilet a lot. But yeah, loo is understood in Australia. That one is not particularly, it's not going to like out you as an outsider necessarily. It is used commonly enough that it's not going to raise any alarm bells, but it's also by and large not the most common word that people would use. So I consider it a little bit of a quirk. So we've got you what? You what? I feel like I would like to think that I'm a bit of a trendsetter, because I swear no one used to say this. Like, no one used to say this. And now, at least people closer to me do say it. So I would like to think that I have influenced people into saying this. But yeah, you what? Yep. And then finally, this one's an interesting one. Bobos. Betty Bobos. Time for Bobos. Bobos time. Betty Bobos. Now, I didn't realise that this wasn't like a thing until very recently. it was brought to my attention when the person that I was saying it to had no idea what I was talking about. I thought that this was like a common thing to say to children. It is not. I then researched it on the web and found out that not only is it not a common thing to say to children in Australia, it's not even a common thing in the UK. It's a regional, like very specific regional thing by the looks of it. So comment below if you've ever heard of this before. Bobo's time, Betty Bobo's. Just to explain it, like to refer to like bedtime, going to bed, going to sleep, Betty Bobo's. Yeah. So apparently it is common in one specific region of the UK where my mum is from, and nowhere else. So yeah, I find that really interesting. These are all the ones that I could think of at the moment. I know this is quite a short video, but if I think of more, I can do another, like a part 2 for this one as well. But for now, I'm going to work on the other video for the Australianisms, because I think there are quite a few more that I've thought of. A lot of food-related ones, actually, which is quite interesting. But yeah, hopefully this was enlightening. Let me know if you didn't realise that any of these weren't common in other countries like Australia. As I said, most of these, like outside of the pronunciation ones, crisps and loo and sweets, you're going to be understood perfectly fine if you say them. They're just not, they're not common. They're not typical. So, but yeah, if you ask for some sweets, or you say, you're craving some sweets or something, like, everyone's gonna know what you're talking about. The pronunciations, I did get made fun of my entire childhood. In fact, I still get made fun of in a light-hearted way, like by friends and stuff at this point. But yeah, I'm glad that I stuck to it though, to be honest. Like, it would have been easy, I think, to just, is that so? To just, like, start saying things the Australian way. I'm glad that I didn't. I'm glad that I didn't train myself out of it, because to me now, it's one of the few ways that I kind of can express that part of my heritage. Even though, like, I was born in Australia and I grew up in Australia, it's nice that there are a couple things that, you know what I mean, like, connect me to that past and that ancestry and that culture, I suppose. So yeah, I'm glad that I didn't cave to the bullies who used to make fun of me a lot. But yeah, hopefully this was enjoyable. Short video, but I'm enjoying these lower key chats. So alright, it is goodbye for now. I will see you next time.